afternoon, everyone.
Good morning.
That's right, every single month, right? Let's try it again. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, teacher. Oh.
Every month I do that. Good afternoon, because I'm so excited. The afternoon or something. Anyways, my name's Mitzi Linton, and I'm the Vice President of the Arizona Interfaith Movement, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you here this morning and this afternoon for our Faith Forum topic. And these forums are offered to discuss topics of the day and to discover viewpoints from different faith perspectives. And our topic today is how healthy is wealthy. How does your faith view prosperity? Is it a goal we should all be striving for? Is it selfish? Should we take vows of poverty? Or does being prosperous allow us to help others by being able to share our good? Are we obligated to share with others? What about tithing? And our panelists today will share from their faith perspectives their viewpoints on this topic. So I'm going to introduce each panelist before they speak, because if you're anything like me, if I introduce them all right now and then you get to the end, you're like, who's that person, right? So our first panelist today is Gurukirn Khalsa, and she is a beloved member of the Arizona Interfaith Movement Board. She received her introduction to Sikhism in 1971 from Yogi Bhajan while attending Panoma College in Claremont, California, and became ordained as a Sikh minister in 1974. As well as being an artist, and she loves watercolor, and also a poet, Gurukirn has written several books on Sikhism, with her interest in Sikh history and culture taking her to India many times. From 1996 to 2004, she served as the president of Sikh Dharma of Phoenix, Inc. And from 2003 to 2005, she was president of the International Khalsa Council. Gurukirn has given numerous educational presentations on Sikhism, and she's received many awards for her work. She was a delegate to the Parliament of the World's Religions in Barcelona, Spain in 2004, and was an ambassador and presenter at the 2009 Parliament of the World's Religions in Melbourne, Australia. Gurukirn and her husband have been members of the Sikh Gurdwara in Central Phoenix since 1975, and their 3 children are also all actively engaged in the Sikh lifestyle. Please help me welcome Gurukirn.
Before I go into the presentation on a Sikh perspective on prosperity, I'd like to bring to your attention a unique opportunity that we have here today. Coming up in October 15th through the 19th, will be the Parliament of the World's Religions in Salt Lake City. It's expected that approximately 10,000 people will attend from 80 different faith traditions, 50 countries. The Dalai Lama will be the host of the event, and several of us have been to previous parliaments, and I think we can all say that it was a life-changing experience. So there's a clipboard going around where you can put your name and your email, and if we have 10 listed on the clipboard, then we will draw a name which will be entered in a raffle for a free registration to the Parliament. So we need to get 10 people to sign up, so if you haven't already registered for the Parliament, please go ahead and put your contact information on there. It will enable you to receive the newsletters from the Parliament. They come, several times a month. Very interesting information about interfaith activities throughout the world. So I encourage you to sign up. I think it's over there. And then I'll be staying after our presentation to talk to people if they're interested in more information about the Parliament. So I am actually on the Ambassador Advisory Council, so we have weekly meetings to help organize it. So we're trying to encourage as many people as are able to go. This is the first time in 20 years that the Parliament has been in the United States. So it's quite a unique opportunity. So please sign up on the clipboard. I wanted to give kind of a historical context of Sikhism relative to this topic. Guru Nanak was born in 1469, so mid-15th century, and the political climate at this time in India was very chaotic for the average person. Towards the end of his life, India was invaded by the Mughals. They came from the north and basically occupied the country with forced conversions to Islam, displaced many people. There was very stringent persecution, so the average person really was in quite a bit of danger just from that regime. Then in addition, the caste system at that time was prevalent in the Hindu religion, and it basically stratified people into a socio-economic position where they had no mobility. So it was very difficult for people to move up or overcome inequality. Some people were actually outside the caste system and were called untouchables. So things were very stratified. This was based on heredity rather than anything else. And then also at that time, there was a very powerful yogic tradition in India, especially in northern India, where the Sikhs originated. And they were called Sikh yogis, and they developed, through their yogic tradition, certain powers, and they would use these powers in a way to exert social control through superstition, through also saying, well, I'll pray for you if you give me money, this kind of thing, or you shouldn't do this, because I'll do this to you, that kind of thing. So for the average person, it was a very kind of a stressful time in India in the second half of the 15th century, early 16th century. Guru Nanak had an enlightenment experience when he was about 30, it was around 1500, and he received a message from the Creator that he was to go and to teach all people that everyone was equal, and the way to serve God was to praise God's name. And he, from the time of being a very little boy, had gathered people around him, and he was a wonderful musician and singer, so he would just start extemporaneously singing him poetry. And so the people that started gathering around him are called Shishya. That word later developed into the word Sikh, which means student. So the people who gathered around him were students, and they were students of the name of God. Basically, that was his main message: praise God's name, to reach the Creator. The other two principles in Sikhism that are essential are Dharamdi Kirit Karni, which means practice an honest living. And in those days there was much exploitation, and there was the caste system, etc. And so for Sikhs, living an honest living meant not exploiting other people and not doing things that could hurt people, such as, today we can make, some people make a lot of money through selling drugs, for instance, but that's a very harmful way of life. So for the Sikhs, it's stressed that live an honest living, that you're serving people and uplifting people. And then the third principle is Vand Chakna, share what you have with others. Sikhs believe in working very hard, at an honest living, as I said, and exploiting and capitalizing on our talents. We feel that we're all given special gifts in this lifetime, things that are unique to us, and that it's through expressing these gifts that we achieve prosperity. And Sikhs are very, very much dedicated to expressing their unique gifts and becoming prosperous. Sikhs are considered the capitalists of India. They were responsible for the Green Revolution in northern India. But following that is the principle that we need to share with others. Share this bounty. I've been reading about this whole situation. There's a new book out called Scarcity. It's a very, very good book. I heard about it on NPR. And it highlights how scarcity, and this is not only scarcity in money, it can be scarcity in social connections such as loneliness, it can be scarcity of time, you feel like you don't have the time. Any kind of scarcity, hunger, etc., causes us to basically make decisions that wouldn't be the best for the long term. They're very short-term decisions, very survival-oriented decisions, and it's a very good book, so if you want to take a look at it after the presentation, I'd highly recommend it. And so within the Sikh tradition, Guru Nanak developed certain institutions, such as Gurukirn, which enable people to overcome a sense of scarcity. I was listening to an NPR show on India, and there was one sentence that really stuck out to me. It said, if you're hungry, you forget even God. And so I think that's true, that those basic needs need to be covered in order for us to be spiritual people. And so the Gurukirn is something that's been a part of Sikhism since the very beginning. Within the caste system in those days, people ate in separate places and actually cooked separately, so there wasn't much intermingling. Within Gurukirn, everybody sits down on the ground, the same level, in long rows, and then the same food that has been prepared for everybody is served to everybody equally. And in the days of the Sikh gurus, actually kings and nobles who wanted to visit the gurus were made to sit in the longer lines, and they had to partake of the longer with everyone else. So the king might be sitting next to the beggar, woman next to man, etc. So this was one of the most powerful ways that Sikhism actually kind of leveled the playing field and made everybody see the humanity in each other and the equality in each other. And I wanted to highlight that the Arizona Interfaith incorporates the Gurukirn in its experience interfaith events that we've been having for the last number of years. I believe the next one is in November, so we'll probably talk about that. But you actually can experience it at that event, so I would highly encourage you to come, and do that. In addition, Sikhs also have the practice of das vand. Das means 10 and vand means giving. So we give a tenth of what we earn to those in need, those who need help. And this is a principle that's very strongly encouraged even among Sikh professionals. It's on all the websites that we give back to those who, and lift up to those who are in need and need help. So I think all in all, for Sikhs, we do want to be prosperous and feel that our prosperity is more of it becomes the prosperity of everyone, and we want to share that and uplift others in addition to ourselves. So it would be for us to, create a beautiful environment for many people to experience, in addition to, beautifying our own homes or that kind of thing. So I think, that's basically it for Sikhism.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gurukirn. That was fascinating, especially about the history as well. Very, very well done. Our next speaker is Sean Rahman, and he is from the Family Federation of Peace and Unification. He is currently working for Maricopa County as an app developer, as well as attending ASU with a double master's in business management and electrical engineering. So he's pretty busy. And he also finds time to own an online business that has expanded throughout the world. He joined the Unification Church in 2009, but grew up with members since childhood. He's a former youth pastor of Arizona and currently helps young members in leadership positions. So please help me welcome Sean Rahman.
Thank you so much, Miss, for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good morning. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I haven't spoken a lot in the panels yet, so I'm looking forward to speak more. But but thank you, Arizona Interfaith, for this wonderful opportunity. I'm so grateful to be here and giving me the chance to speak on my behalf. And just a little disclaimer, as we all are, learning about our faith and everything throughout every day. I'm still very young, trying to figure out where I am in my life, so all the concepts I'm going to talk to you about is from my perceptions and my concepts and what I've learned from Arizona Interfaith and also from my church group and things like that. So just a little disclaimer. So when I read the topic is how healthy is wealthy, and I was really trying to figure out what does it mean to be wealthy and what does it mean to be rich and what does society perceive everything as. So in our church we have this concept of the 3 stages of life. So first of all is the world of water, which is when you're in the womb and the baby's developing. Then in the physical world we have the world of air, and then the last stage of life is the spirit world, where it's the world of love. And the purpose of the womb, the world of water, is to prepare for the physical world, to prepare your body for the world of air, upcoming next. And then for the physical world, the purpose of here in today's world of air is to prepare us for the next stage of life, which is the world of love. So with that, we need to prepare our hearts and grow our hearts to become that, so we can breathe in the world of love. So, yeah. So I believe in the physical world we are meant to learn how to love properly. Basically live the golden rule. Live the golden rule. So in the physical world, life is about relationships. And the relationships we have with other people and to grow our hearts, centered upon God. So where does wealth come into all this? So according to dictionary.com, wealth is having a great deal of money, resources, or assets, or being rich. But having a lot of money, basically, that's what wealth is. So I have to figure out, what is money? So money is just any circulating medium of exchange. So it's a way for us to trade goods with one another. That's all money is, relatively. So money is just a form of exchange, but what value do we put into money? I think that's a real question of this forum. What value do we put in money? That determines if wealthy is truly healthy or unhealthy. So I believe that the usage of money is a reflection of your character, I believe, and I'm going to get into that. In the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 28, God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." So basically our God, our Heavenly Parent, gives us an opportunity to be fruitful and multiply and create dominion over the earth. and to be fruitful and have the resources to take our eyes from ourselves and look into the world. And I think that's what the verse is really talking about. Being fruitful, being prosperous, but all looking to really better the world. And then to create a peaceful world, not just any world, but a peaceful, loving world. In the Unification Church, we value the relationships we have with one another in the world. So in my personal life, I've taken those value, purpose of creating wealth is so not I can buy nice cars or fancy clothes, but it is to serve others. And that's the core of our movement's belief, is to live for the sake of others. So when we lose the reason to do good and helping others, then the purpose of money can be misconstrued. So it's the owner of the money, that's the real reason wealthy can be healthy or unhealthy. If the person is good, individually good themselves, I believe the purpose of money can do so many great things. Maybe if the person isn't as good themselves, the money can be used for multiple other things, not so good things. So Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Cha Han Moon, the founder of the Unification Church in 1970 here in America, has really set a great example for me and how they use their finances and everything like that, because they use their wealth that they generated through different businesses to help people all over the world. Like they sent Nepal to $1.5 billion and things like that. So they still continue to serve the world with their business assets. Reverend Sun Myung Moon states that when conducting businesses, we must always be honest. And money earned in this honorable manner must of course be spent prayerfully. It must be spent with a clear purpose and intent. I believe the purpose of business is not simply to make money, but it is to support the world. So, in conclusion, whether, like I keep saying, whether wealthy can be healthy or unhealthy depends on your purpose of money, depends on what you want to achieve with your lifestyle. So that's why I believe it's the reflection of your character. With that, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sean. Very nicely done. And a good couple of points there that I wrote down that I'll bring up later. Yes. Our panelist with the very short bio who is going to introduce himself. So I'll tell you a little tiny bit about Gregg Daniel and how I met Gregg, first of all. Gregg Daniel is the CEO and founder of Kingdom Credit Union, whose mission is to provide financial services and assistance to our Christian community while protecting their assets with sound godly wisdom and stewardship. So, at our last Golden Rule banquet, I'm standing at our interfaith table selling the books, and this young man comes up to me with a friend of his and says, "Oh, hello, I want to learn," well, actually he didn't use a British accent at all. He says, "Hello, I want to learn more about interfaith." So that wasn't very good either. But anyway, so I said, "Oh, what would you like to know?" And we got chatting, and I asked him what he did. He handed me his card, and he says that he has this Christian credit union. I said, "Oh, I'm looking for panelists for our next faith forum. Would you like to be one?" And Gregg said the right word. "Yes, I would love to be a panelist for your faith forum." So that is how we got to know Gregg at Arizona Interfaith Movement. And he's going to tell you a little bit more about himself and tell you about what he believes and what his faith community believes also on this topic. So please help me welcome Gregg Daniel.
Thank you. That's a great introduction. I don't know if I can do the British accent. A little bit about me, just real quickly. I have been traveling the world doing motivational speaking and ministry speaking. I've gone to South Africa 3 times, Australia, New Zealand, Belgium, Germany a couple of times, throughout Mexico. And what I do is I do more motivational speaking about healing, inner healing. I love the inner faith, but the inner healing, the woundedness and the brokenness of our souls that we generally receive when we're small children, but it happens throughout our lives. So I get invited to go throughout the world and speak on this. In terms of my financial side, I had a vision about 20 years ago that I was going to open an end-time bank. God gave me the name, told me how much it was going to be worth. He said that it would basically fund the end-time harvest or the world harvest. So in developing Kingdom Credit Union, it's a Christian credit union, the field of membership, we give up to 50% of our profits back out to foundations and ministries and outreaches that basically feed the homeless, clothe the homeless, feed the hungry, anything to do with helping mankind and humanitarian projects. So my passion is really speaking and bringing healing to those that are wounded and hurt and broken through rejection or abandonment or abuse, things that we go through as a child, which affects how we are as adults. And it actually affects how we look at prosperity versus poverty. Because when you're broken or you're wounded or you've been hurt as a child through rejection, let's say your parents got divorced, you experience rejection or abandonment, unfortunately there's a lot of abuse, things like that. So when things like that happen, we have this slant on life and we're looking at everything in life negatively through our hurt and through our pain. And we speak that. And so the key to prosperity, I believe, is twofold, and I'm going to get into that. First, we have to break the curse of poverty, which poverty is a curse, and then we have to activate the spiritual laws of prosperity. So, first, what is a curse of poverty? Generational curses of poverty or curses of poverty come upon us through, again, our hurts and our pains and our woundedness. We begin to speak out of our hurt and our pain, and everything we speak is negative because we are hurt and we're wounded. Our DNA carries our physical history, but our DNA also carries our spiritual history. So when you go to a doctor and you have a checkup, the doctor says, does your parent have diabetes? Does your mom and dad have heart problems? What's your history in your family? That's carried through our DNA. Our spiritual aspect, our spiritual outlook also is carried through our DNA. And we have to change that. And it has been reported that you can actually change your DNA. There's scientific proof that you can change your DNA by speaking. We have power in our words. When God said, let there be, we have that same power and authority because we're made in God's image. So we can speak what we want. And our words, they become a seed. And so what are you planting? Are you planting seeds of prosperity or are you planting seeds of poverty? And so the way that you can look at this is, let me give you an example. Let me ask this question. Do you deserve to prosper?
Yes.
Yes. I think everybody would say yes, right? So then I would then ask, well, why aren't we fully prospering at the desire that we really want? Okay. And it may be because we may not fully yet deserve to prosper. And what I mean by that is, if I was, actually I am probably over 200. Let's say I wanted to lose 50 pounds or 100 pounds. Let's say I wanted to lose 100 pounds. I probably couldn't, but let's say I wanted to lose 50 pounds. And I go, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. But you see me at McDonald's, I'm eating Big Macs, French fries, I'm eating peach cobbler, which is my favorite dessert. I'm eating all of this stuff, and I'm not working out, I'm not exercising, but I'm eating all this junk food. Would you say that I deserve to lose 50 pounds? No, I wouldn't deserve it. I mean, the law of the universe basically says if you work out, you eat healthy, you eat nutritional food, and you work out, then you'll lose weight. That's the law of the universe, right? Well, prosperity works the same way. If you're speaking negative, you receive negative. If you speak death, you receive death. If you speak poverty, you're going to speak that. The Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if you're wounded in your heart through hurts and pains, you're going to speak that, right? right? So we have to change how we speak. And that is really the key of prosperity, whether it's in love, whether it's in health, whether it's in financial, whatever you're looking for in life to prosper you, we have to begin to speak that. So, and the way that this works is that take lottery winners, over 50%, and I think it's like closer to 70 or 80% of the lottery winners, within a few years, they are actually bankrupt. And why is that? Because most of the lottery winners are actually very impoverished because they're trying to get that quick strike. They're trying to get rich quick. So they have a poverty mentality. So they blow their money. So money in your account will not break the curse of poverty or the mindset of poverty. You have to receive healing and receive God's healing to heal that part of your life. So let me kind of go over some things. So how do we break the curse of poverty? We have to get healed from the woundedness and the brokenness. And I speak this presentation in a much deeper revelation and understanding for about 2 hours. So I'm trying to condense it in about 10 minutes. So it's a lot of information, but I'm just going to hit some real important parts. And actually, when I do the presentation, I actually take people through an exercise to go back, and they are able to go back to a wounded part. So, real quick, I would ask, what is the worst, and I don't want to get too heavy here, because we're at lunch, but what is the worst thing that's ever happened to you in life? And I want you to go back to your childhood and think about one of the worst things that's ever happened to you. And most of the time we've shoved that down because we don't want to think about it, because we want to think about happy thoughts. So, and we want to be positive, and we're business and everything. But there's a lot of hurt and pains that are in our lives. So for me, it was I was 2, and my mom and dad had divorced. My dad came over to visit, and I remember I was about 2 because I had a diaper on and I could see myself. And my mom said, Gregg, your dad's here. So I ran in the living room and I jumped on his lap, and I'm 2 because I had a diaper on. I jumped on his lap and I leaned forward to give him a kiss. And he backs up and he says, "Oh, big boys don't kiss on the lips." And that rejected me and wounded me. In fact, I didn't even realize it until I got more into ministry and I started going through and learning this process of inner healing. And everything that I thought back, a lot of things that happened in my life happened out of rejection. I began to attract people that would reject me, or I would reject other people. So that's just a quick example. So I was always speaking, and I didn't believe and feel that I deserved to be blessed or I deserved to be loved because I had experienced that rejection. So that's a real common area that most people experience, is some type of rejection. So basically, you go through the process and you speak out the words and say, I break the curse of rejection, I receive healing, and I just release that. And what happens is your whole life will begin to change. You'll no longer attract those people that reject you. You'll no longer attract, and you'll no longer speak words of poverty or hurt and pain. Okay, so that's just real quick. So we have to break the curse of poverty through receiving healing and abundance, and no longer speaking that. And we have to really watch our words, or have someone help us say, okay, every time I speak something negative, I want you to shake me or grab me and say, Gregg, what did you just speak? And you'll be surprised at things that we speak that we don't even realize it. Okay? So once we break that cycle, then we have to go into the 4 spiritual laws of prosperity. I'm just going to go real quick. So the first spiritual law of prosperity is writing your vision, writing your purpose down. The Bible says, write the vision and make it plain. So we know about this in business because we write out our goals and we focus on what we want. So the first key of spiritual law of prosperity is writing out your vision. What do you want to accomplish? Do you want a lot of money to bless others and to help others? Do you want to get married? Do you want to have happiness in your marriage? Do you want to, bless your children or your grandchildren? Whatever it is, write it out. Okay. So if you have a vision to receive $1 million to open up a business, you got to know how many zeros there are in $1 million, or $1 billion, or $1 trillion for that matter. Because, again, do you deserve it? If you haven't studied and really prepared yourself, how can you really move forward? The scripture in the Bible says, write the vision, make it plain, and count the cost if you're going to build something, right? So, I had this vision 20 years ago to open up Kingdom Bank. It was going to fund the World Harvest. It was going to be worth so much money. I began to speak that over and over and over again. It's taken quite a while because just the timing wasn't right. But whatever it is, the timing will always be perfect. Now, the second spiritual law of prosperity is getting the vision deep into your heart that you can see it when you close your eyes. So you have to write the vision, but then you have to really recite it or meditate on it so it gets deep in your heart. The Bible says that God will give us the desires of our heart. So if your vision or your purpose or whatever you're asking God for or the universe for, whatever you're desiring, it has to be in your heart. You meditate on it. Psalms 21:2 says, "Thou hast given him his heart's desire and has not withheld his request." So God, the universe, gives us the desires of our heart, but the desire has to be in there. Those good desires, not the pain and the hurt and the brokenness, but the prosperity and the abundance. So get the vision in your heart. The third law of prosperity is constantly declaring it to heaven and earth and the universe. So you're going to write it out, you're going to look at it, you're going to meditate on it so it gets in your heart, but then you have to begin to speak it. Whatever you're desiring. It says, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight." And again, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So it has to be in your heart, and you'll begin to speak it out. When you meditate on this, you're seeing yourself in the success of it. So my vision is, I was always looking at the grand opening of Kingdom Bank. That was my vision. Okay? I could see the ribbon cutting, I could see all the people there. That's the vision that I had. And so whatever your vision is, make it plain and meditate on it and see it. Okay? The Bible says that we activate the angels or the universe when we speak out. Again, we're made in God's image, so what you speak out, you will receive. The power of death and life is in the tongue. And they that eat the fruit of it shall receive it. So, or they that speak it will eat the fruit of it. So whatever you're speaking, it will manifest in your life. Okay? The fourth law of prosperity is giving. There's three types of giving. There's giving to God, there's giving to yourself, and there's giving to man. And so I know we talked about tithing and giving back. That's really key because that activates the law of sowing and reaping. It's a natural law. You go out and you plant. We just went to the festival of peaches, my little daughter, and she picked all these peaches. So I kept the peach seed. I'm going to try to plant it. I don't know if it's going to grow. But anyway, if you plant a peach seed, peaches will grow. If you plant cherries, cherries will grow. If you plant apple seed, will oranges grow? No. Seeds will produce their like kind. So if you speak prosperity, will poverty grow? No, prosperity will grow. If you speak poverty, will prosperity grow? No, if you speak poverty, poverty will grow. Just like when you plant apple seeds, apples will grow. The spiritual law of sowing and reaping is actually greater than the natural law of sowing and reaping. Why? Because in the spiritual realm, there's no crop failure. In the natural realm, we have crop failure, right? So, that's really key. And like I said, the fourth one is to really give. The law of sowing and reaping is activated when you give. The law of prosperity is given. And the law of multiplication is given. Because what you speak, it will begin to multiply. So I really encourage you to look at your words that you're speaking. Are you speaking poverty? Are you speaking negative? Are you speaking out of your hurt and your pain? Okay, catch yourself. Ask God to show you, or the universe or your higher power. Ask to show you what's in me. What's the hurt and pain that I'm speaking and I'm living in? And then once you correct that, then you can begin to speak prosperity and activate the 4 laws of prosperity. Okay, thank you.
Greg, that was awesome. Thank you. Everyone's been wonderful so far. And I love how you brought, when we asked you to speak, you just brought what you do to it and brought it from your faith tradition as well, with including scriptures and everything. And people were busy taking notes, so that was a good thing. I know we're over time with you, but people were writing, so I kept looking and it's like, well, they're writing down. They want this, they want it. So thank you for sharing your heart from your Christian perspective and all that you're doing. And so our final speaker today is Koel from Scientology. And Les is a beloved board member of Arizona Interfaith as well. He serves on our board and serves on several Arizona Interfaith committees. He's a South Dakota State University graduate with a degree from the College of Arts and Science, and makes his living in the arts as a professional singer, and he's amazing. If you haven't heard Les sing, he's really, really gifted, and definitely using his talents as suggested in the Sikh tradition to prosper in his life. He's been studying and practicing Scientology for over 40 years. He is a lecturer and an ordained minister trained to deliver Scientology spiritual counseling known as auditing. Please help me welcome our friend of the Arizona Interfaith Movement, Koel.
Thank you. And the only other person that calls me Les is somebody I know from Australia. I like it. Kind of like it. I do. Anyway, it's good to be here today. And so I'm going to give a few quotes about what money actually is. I knew you did that as well. What is money? And so here's a couple of them. If you think that money is the end of the effort, your efforts, you're making a bad mistake there too, because it actually is merely a representation of your creativeness. So that's one definition. And this one I like. Money is important in the world, but it is the grease on the machinery, not the motors. Something to think about. So money is a tool. It's a gas tank. But it is a gas tank. It is a means of getting something done. It is no valid end in itself. So in Scientology, we learn that, yes, you need to be concerned about your personal self and your family, and you have to have adequate housing. You got to, have enough food for your family, and you need to be active in your community. You also need to be concerned about what's happening in the world and mankind as a whole. And what about the planet we're standing on, the environment? All these things are actually everybody's responsibility. And so we've developed a number of programs that directly address the major problems for mankind: drugs, illiteracy, crime, lack of moral fiber, that sort of thing. And those programs are meant for anybody to use, and they're in all the languages, and so that takes gas in the tank, right? So we often do fundraisers, actually about one a month, featuring one or more of these programs, and that's how the money is collected, so that these things can occur. Some of you have experienced some of the programs. One of them having to do with the Way to Happiness. We're sponsoring an open house on that one, and I'll leave that flyer over there at the board so you can see how that program can help reduce crime and raise the level of mankind in an area. And these are all non-religious, so they're not pushing a particular religion. They're just something good that you should do to help your fellow man. But again, those take money. So we have a lot of people that give a lot towards those programs. And some are very successful. And they're pretty happy people when they're able to use that money then, and they know something is actually being done. I think that's when we're our happiest, isn't it? When we know we're helping others. It's a good way to be happy yourself. Now the next thing, another quote I want to give is, there is nothing wrong with having lots of money. There is everything wrong with having no money. Right? But to work only for money is the dreariest thing there is, very short term indeed. You probably met people who are very wealthy who are not happy people. They might have a lot of objects. So, but people do have, as this gentleman mentioned, a problem with money at times. So we have a series of courses that we offer at the church having to do with handling that problem, because some people are having trouble handling just their own family and themselves personally. So we have a series of them. One of them is called Scientology Tools for Overcoming Financial Stress. One called Scientology Tools for Financial Security. And the one I brought a copy of is Scientology Principles of Prosperity. And these are not long courses. They take 8 to 10 hours in the course room, but they help give someone guidance in how they can use their creativeness to find a way that they can exchange with the community around them for money and the means of having a successful life. Going on, the original title of this was How Healthy is Wealthy? And so I want to read this because I thought this hits right home here. And that is, here it is. First of all, there might be another definition for wealth. And one of them I want to put in here is from an article Hubbard wrote. It says here, talking about people in general, the average worker, his actual wealth is his potentiality for getting work done. And of course, this means his potentiality for getting along with his fellow man. That's his wealth. People that can't work are not happy people. Are they? Yeah. Then, the thing about how healthy is wealthy, he answers the question here in another article, which I thought was really interesting. What is the pay that you get for living? Okay? He says the pay is communication, sensation, understanding, cooperative endeavor, enthusiasm over goals, activity, the feeling one is going someplace and doing something. These are the only payments that can be made to anyone for living. There are some things that try and substitute for them. Mink coats, Cadillacs, we should probably say BMWs now, right? And big bank accounts. Person says, well, if I could just make a couple of million, then I would have been paid for it. Well, you and I know the answer to that. We see some of these fellows that slaved through it for 20, 25, 30 years. Let everything go by the boards but that first couple of million, or something like that. And there they sit in the chair with ulcers. They were paid, apparently. They were apparently paid in cash, but they weren't paid in communication, sensation, understanding, feeling of a job well done. These payments they didn't get, and it made them sick. So there is something real about living, and that something real is life. Now the funny part of it is that if you get paid in the commodities which I have just mentioned, you usually get paid in cash too. And there's certainly nothing wrong in having a few hogsheads full of cash. So that gives you an idea of our thoughts about money and prosperity And I think, oh, that wraps it up for me. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Les. Well done. So it's your turn now to see if you have any questions. We'll keep this